Welcome to Poems by Yas. This is episode 19, and today my topic is called Boating Days. So if you're new to my channel, each week I share my poem and a story. It can be about myself or something relevant in the news, something to inspire you. So today I'm going to share a story about a guy named Sean Danielson and how his kayak overturned in the river, and I'll explain what happened in that situation. So stay tuned for that story, and then I'm going to talk about a news reporter who went on a cruise, and she gave her opinions about the cruise, but she always got seasick. So her opinions were not so good about going on a cruise, and I can give tips related to going on a cruise and when you take your next boating trip and what you need to have when you're on the boat. But first, I'm going to start with my poem called Boating Days. Some people like to go boating, fishing, or going on a cruise. Others may get seasick and just like to enjoy the view. Sailing in the ocean is some people's dream. Maybe you like the water and the deep blue sea. Think back to the boating days in the past or look forward to the adventures ahead. The ocean is so big and it is nice to swim and sometimes catch fish. I'm going to start with my story. In Maryland, Virginia, at a bay, it's called Chesapeake Bay, there's a man named Sean Daniel. He's in his 40s. This happened around 4 years ago in 2018. He decided to go kayaking. He had a lime green kayak and he's familiar with the waters, but he decided to go further in the ocean because he wanted to catch more fish. All of a sudden, the kayak flipped over, and when it flipped over, he didn't panic. He had his whistle attached to his life jacket, and he was wearing his life jacket, which is really good. It was clipped on because you never know, all of a sudden winds can come and a boat can flip over, especially this day that he went kayaking. He had a bail to try and get the water out of the kayak, and he tried to flip the kayak over the opposite way. And he was also considering swimming to shore. He wasn't sure the best way, but he knew what he should do is probably stay with the boat. He had a whistle on him, so he had that close by, because if he's seen somebody, a boat that's nearby, if he blowed his whistle, then maybe they could hear him. So that's what he did. He was in the water for almost 3 hours, and there were passerbyers. This was the beginning of the boating season, so there wasn't that many boats out. But there was a couple that was coming back from Bahamas and other boaters that did discover something green in the ocean. So when they got closer, they heard the whistle. He was blowing the whistle, and the people that rescued him, they were so surprised to see him there. They brought him into the boat, but he was in and out of consciousness. But that day, he was very lucky that those people were in the water. They were able to see him, and they rescued him, and they saved his life. So this is to share with you how important it is to have safety equipment when you go in the ocean, especially a kayak or any boat. Make sure you have you can have a flare, you can have a whistle so you can be heard. Always have a flotation device or a life jacket, and make sure it's up to Canadian or American safety standards. If you're from America, if you're from Canada, make sure it's Canadian boating safety standards, and make sure it fits properly, because if there is an accident, the life jacket can save your life, because in this story, that's what happened. I'm going to tell you a story of a reporter that went on a cruise ship, and it was her first cruise, and she was very young, so she didn't have a good experience. She always got seasick. So my suggestion for you is be cautious where you choose your room, because she chose the front of the cabin, and that's the worst spot to choose when you're seasick. If you do get seasick easily, pick the middle area cabin. And also don't choose floors, deck 8 and below near the front lindo deck, because that's a noisy area, because they might have a stage or entertainment and a lot of chairs moving. So if you don't want that noise, pick the 8th or 9th floor and above. Also, it's good to have a carry-on bag when you go on your ship because the luggage doesn't get delayed until later in the evening. So there was one family that had kids and they didn't pack a carry-on bag with sunscreen and bathing suits, so they couldn't go swimming right away. So if you want to do those activities right away when you're going on your cruise, it's good to have it packed in a little carry-on bag. And also, when you do go to the cruise and you have your time there, just make sure you walk around and get to know the area ahead of time, because it's good to know where everything is, especially before it gets dark. And when you get to the cabin, check everything, check the lights, make sure they're working, that nothing is broken, so everything is working condition, so you can get that sorted out so you can enjoy your trip. Pack medication like Gravol or something that can help you if you have a headache or if you get seasick, because those might be hard to get when you're on the ship. So if you have that, that might also help you out. So I hope you enjoyed these tips, and I'm going to give you more tips on what you should have when you're going boating. So if you have a motorized boat, you need a license. And when you do have a life jacket, make sure that it fits properly and is fit for the Canadian transportation standards if you're from Canada, and the standards for the US if you're from the US. And also have an anchor on the boat or a flashlight that is waterproof. You can also have a flare, because you never know when it's dark and you're in trouble, and you can use that flare or whistle, because I told you the story about how the whistle helped save Sean's life. So you never know when you need that. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Poems by Yas and Boating Days, and I hope my tips helped you. And next week I'm going to share how I planned my son's 7th birthday party. So it recently finished and it was a big job doing all the planning, and I'm going to share the tips that helped me plan for such a big group of people. So join me next week for that video birthday planning.